Welcome, all gunning to Old Trafford here with your hosts Shady and Ibi, and wow, we have a special guest all the way from Zimbabwe.
Oh, love
Harare. Ibi, bring us in, brother.
Our neighbors.
Our neighbors. I love Zimbabwe,
You know,
man.
it's such an amazing one because South Africa was always deemed to be the big brother in the relationship with Zimbabwe,
Correct.
just like Manchester United is the big brother, and we've got our noisy neighbors in Manchester City. But guys, before we do it,
Ibi started early with you. Beware, Amar.
I haven't even introduced myself properly and we're already there.
Already. Listen here, Amar. My man is in a feisty mood, okay? So don't make him upset, please. But Amar, welcome to Gunning to Old Trafford. Tell us about yourself, man. Zimbabwe, EA, pro clubs, FIFA player. You have your own team. You're a captain of your team. Tell us a bit about yourself, man.
Okay, so before I get into that, I'd just like to thank you, gentlemen, for having me on the show. Because I've been watching your show here and there, and I must say I am honored to be a guest. So, yeah, so I'm from Harare originally. I'm age 23, and I know brother Abdul's brother, Moaz, actually from FIFA, because we actually first met on pro clubs. You know, who would have thought? But it first started off as a group of, friends just playing for banter, just messing around. But then we saw that we actually had a good caliber of gentlemen. So we decided to take things a bit seriously, and we started competing in the SA League. And this was with the likes of the Orlando Pirates, esports teams, the Sundowns, esports teams. So the big leagues, so to speak.
Not too shabby.
so Amar, you have 2 spots available in your team.
Yeah.
2 spots. You need for United fans. For United fans, it's a rigorous trial period, but for us fans, I don't mind too much. So that's how I basically met Abdul's brother Moaz, and Alhamdulillah, it's brought us all closer together. We became very good friends like that, and that's how I'm here today, I guess.
Amazing.
No, awesome.
And that's what it's about, it's about also connection, gunning to Old Trafford, by the fans, for the fans, bringing us all together and really sharing our experiences as football fans. So absolutely amazing.
100%.
Yeah.
Lovely. Amar, so obviously, like we said earlier on, our neighbor from Zimbabwe, how's the football support for the English League in Zimbabwe? Is it predominantly Manchester United, Liverpool, or are you seeing, your club get a lot of the supporters? Because you're a fairly young guy. So, are the younger generation getting into more Manchester City, Chelsea, etc.?
You know what? That's quite a fair question, to be fair. I would say wherever you go in the world, as much as I hate to admit it, Manchester United is probably the most prominent team supported, because it's one of the older clubs. But to be fair, it also means a lot more people underwent heartbreak this past weekend. So there was a lot of tears around Zimbabwe.
You're still going on with the 7 stories,
man. Don't go there, man.
But I would say that younger generations are definitely getting more into Man City. You see your younger cousins, wearing City jerseys and that. And I find myself one of the older generations, despite not being that old, and considering it's a fairly new club on the scene.
No, brilliant stuff.
Amazing. So Amar, you said earlier on, I'm not good at it. I don't like saying my age. But Amar said he's 23 years old. And you started supporting Manchester City in 2010. So you were 10 years old. And when you were 12 years old, you guys won one of the finest final day wins in a championship, premiership. How was it feeling? Because I remember the news coming through, Manchester United almost starting to celebrate, and then Aguero. What went through your mind?
Why must you say it with so much passion?
So, did I?
You did too much, man.
Was
It's like you almost liked it.
Okay, one more time. Listen. Aguero! I love this guy, man. But so where were you? How was it feeling? I mean, come on, man. It must have been amazing.
We're talking about Manchester City. The one event historically, which will come to anyone's mind, has to be that moment. Because, people can argue that Manchester City didn't have a history prior to that moment or prior to Sheikh Mansour taking over the club. But I feel that moment ignited a lot of support globally. And the way it happened, at which team's expense, especially, because obviously the biggest club in England,
This guy is
like
making
they
it
were.
possible.
This is naughty, this guy. He's a naughty boy.
So, like obviously United have finished their game now. They're on the edge of their seats there. The match is pretty much done. Stoppage time. The ball's in our half. You'd expect the game to be done. And then out of almost nothing, probably one of the most iconic goals in history was scored that day. And, words can't really describe what one went through. But yeah, I feel the moment and the commentary itself speaks for itself.
But I don't say it. I don't say it enough. I would like to thank you guys for doing that and breaking Sir Alex Ferguson's heart that day, because that led him to go and get Robin van Persie from Arsenal,
and that broke my heart.
And then we just took away the title from you the next season. So
Listen,
Sir Alex
one
Ferguson.
thing you must know about Sir Alex Ferguson. In 98, 99, he took it very personally when Arsenal won the league.
Yeah.
And when you guys won it in 20, he took it personally as well. So, but what a manager. Absolutely
so,
amazing.
Abar, quick one before we get into your all-time 11. This season, you guys have been stop-start. Erling Haaland, amazing player. And I think it's wrong to say that he makes the City team worst, because I don't think he does. But he adds a different dimension to that City team that made them play a little bit differently, and that we've seen a lot of stop-start type of football. Do you think Erling Haaland will integrate fully into the City team, and do you think you guys will pip the league from the Arsenal?
Okay, so you brought up a very fair point, which from a very unbiased perspective, because obviously I love my team, but I must say the integration of a player like Haaland has been very difficult. I must say he had a very hot start. But I would say a lot of the goals were due to the supporting cast around him, and a lot of them were in the box. Traditionally he's known for his getting behind, physical hold-up play, and then he was scoring at Dortmund like that. But at City, I feel like he hasn't fully integrated into the team in terms of that the players around him haven't gotten used to playing with a player of that nature. Because prior to Haaland, we didn't even have a striker. We were playing with a false nine. And prior to that, we were playing with Aguero, who was, on the shorter side. He was able to, link up play a bit more. And the dynamic is very, very different. So I feel Haaland will eventually find.
Of course, he's world class, right?
Yeah, and I mean, especially under like a manager like Pep, who has been known to, improve a player's game, to elevate it. We saw with, for example, Jack Grealish, he had a very difficult debut season. But I would say as of late, he has been picking up his form. There's a lot more confidence in his play. The same was João Cancelo in his first season. You didn't hear much about him, and then the second season he became one of the better left backs in the league. So I feel like it's an adapting process which needs to take place, but I think by next season we'll be seeing a lot more than what we're seeing right now.
Brilliant, love it.
Amazing stuff.
And then in terms of catching the Arsenal, do you guys think
$1 million question?
Can Sir Alex Ferguson done 3 in a row a few times? Pep Guardiola still struggling to find it. This season you guys can do it. Do you think you get over the line and do 3 in a row?
Okay, so if you ask me this question before the World Cup, I would have said 110%, because I felt that after the World Cup, some cracks were going to show in the Arsenal squad. But I would say Arsenal has shown a lot of character this season, even just with the past weekend, the way they were able to come back from 2-0 down. Despite being such a youthful team, I feel like there is a lot of character and hunger, and fire and desire in that team. So I would say it's probably going to go until deadline day on the last match. But you know what? I feel like City has been in this position before. Obviously last season, playing against Villa, when we were 2 down at halftime and we were able to bring it back. So there's no lack of character in the City team. So I do feel it's going to go up until the last match. And, I'm making tahajjud every day just so that City can close the gap.
Right. This is a beautiful one.
Love it.
However, we did a spotlight a few weeks ago, Ibi, and I hope you subscribe on the channel, Amar. We're gonna be he is. So we did a spotlight segment, and just very quickly, we spoke about Pep Guardiola showing a little bit of cracks with what Ten Hag has brought to the Premiership, and how Mikel Arteta is really plowing his trade. Do you think there's some crack showing with Pep Guardiola, or is it just he's just riding the wave and he's also just playing around and playing the game? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Pep for me seems a little bit uncertain and a little bit nervous. What's your take on that?
So I would say a lot of the uncertainty in the City squad is the fact that we've lost a lot of players from the course of last season. Obviously, to Arsenal's benefit, I know the left back there has been putting in a shift and a half, and we miss him sorely. Then obviously with the João Cancelo, the whole issue with him and Pep Guardiola, who was a pivotal player in our attacking and defensive play. Jesus, obviously, with new players like Haaland who haven't fully adapted, and I feel Pep hasn't necessarily, I would say, come to terms with how to make most use of him. And if not even Pep, maybe the players in the team. So I would say it comes down to, I would say the lack of, it's quite a bold statement, but lack of depth from what we used to. In terms of, I would say starting from the back line. I would say attacking wise, we have a lot of options. Midfield, we have options, but the back line has been probably our biggest weakness this season. With obviously fullbacks not being fit all the time, one leaving the club, injuries, now a CB becoming a left back, we're now playing a 3-back. So there's a lot of factors to consider. So I don't know how much blame we can put on Pep. However, he does have the tendency to switch things up too often, which I feel also does affect the synergy between the players and what they're used to doing.
And I love what you said, sorry Ibrahim, about your defense. And yes, all of us feel that Manchester City's got so much of depth, but you lost within almost a year, Ibi, a Zinchenko and a João Cancelo, which are world-class left backs. So that already gives you an idea that there is some problems in defense. So brilliantly said, man.
Amar, amazing analysis, and
amazing.
I think really level-headed and fair on your side. Love it. And this is what football is about. Yes, the banter is there, but if we can sit and unpack things nicely, I think we'll get a lot more done in footballing terms. So Amar, we're going to jump straight into your 11. Obviously a youngster watching since 2010, so your 11 will be made up. I mean, if you want to, you can go back to bring out some of your guys' legends like Sean Goater into your team, etc.
Yeah, like Peter Schmeichel.
Frank Lampard. Oh, sorry, those are all other teams' legends.
Bakary Sagna, Samir Nasri.
But jokes aside, 2010 to 2023, and even if you want to go past 2010, you're more than willing to, or more than welcome to, right? Amar, we're going to give you the option to choose your formation, and then Abdul will explain to you the black book. Or Abdul, rather, explain the black book.
Amar, you've watched a couple of, the black book is out. And we only take out the black book for special people like yourself. We've got the conductor of the orchestra here. You know Uzi, Martin Odegaard. Right, so we're ready to pen down your Manchester City all-time 11. I almost said Manchester United.
I mean, there is only one Manchester, like Robinho said, right?
Shame.
When he signed for Manchester. Sorry, Amar. Sorry. So, Amar,
I gave it. I have to take it. Okay, so formation, I'll say 4-2-2. If I'm picking all
4-2-2-2.
That's a FIFA formation. Yeah. These guys are naughty.
This is your Pro 11. This is your Pro Teams formation, right?
Yes.
I knew it.
I love that. So it's a 4-4-2-2.
So he's got a 4-2-2-2.
I'll justify why I picked this formation.
Okay, I mean, you can choose a 1-5-4 if you want to.
But this is
it's your
interesting.
formation,
This
but we
is
love
very
it.
interesting.
But we
Beautiful.
love it. So, Amar, we're going to start off with your goalkeeper and we're going to work our way up. So, let's start off with the goalkeepers. Obviously, spoiled for choice, especially in the modern era. Joe Hart,
Yes.
fantastic for you guys, and now Edison. And like Abdul said, yes, considered a Manchester United legend, but Peter Schmeichel
Could also be, yeah.
Played a pivotal role in the redevelopment of Manchester City.
Correct.
So, who would be that guy to marshal your defense?
Right. So obviously, since watching from 2010, I feel like it would only be fair to select people I've seen and had a personal impact on me. So I'm not going to consider Schmeichel in this debate. So
Okay.
for me, I would have to pick Joe Hart.
Okay.
Definitely.
And why I'm going to pick Joe Hart is because primarily a goalkeeper's whole role is first and foremost shot stopping. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff like maybe how you're going to control your defenders, how you're distributing. And I mean, Edison is probably one of the best distributors in the world. We can argue that case. But on the other hand, we've conceded a lot of goals due to Edison's inability to shot stop or lack of, ability rather, not inability, because that would be doing him a very big disservice. But in terms of shot stopping, I'd say Joe Hart was probably the best shot stopper I've seen in my day.
Yeah,
I think Trezo also went for him. We had a guy before you, Trezo, also Manchester City, also chose Joe Hart, and Joe Hart was magnificent, man. Absolutely.
And he was from DRC, so all our African contingent, all City boys.
You need to watch that. Trezo from DRC of Congo, brilliant Manchester City supporter. We'll hook you up with him, and you guys can.
So gunning to Old Trafford is quite global.
It's global. It's global. We all over, man.
So I mean, I don't.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, thanks, Amar. I don't blame you for going for Joe Hart. Pivotal to the success of Manchester City, and in his prime was a really, really tank of a man.
Yes.
Huge in the parlors and very, very difficult to beat.
English keeper for a couple of years, eh?
So Amar, now that we've got the goalkeeper sorted out, we're going to go with your centre back pairing because I think centre backs make up your spine of your team. So as a partnership, which two centre backs would you choose to complement each other, both from a tenacity point of view and also from a flair perspective?
And you spoil for choice. You are spoiled for choice.
I mean, the first centre back option is pretty much a no-brainer. It has to be Vincent Kompany. That one.
Vincent.
Oh, I love it. Kompany. Oh, man. Vincent.
I mean, Vincent picks himself, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. My captain, a leader personified. He was absolutely amazing. And what a manager as well. Eh?
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And who partners him, Amar?
So the partner option, I would say, is quite difficult because there have been a number of centre-backs which have been there. In terms of longevity, it's also quite difficult to pick someone who was solid over a long period of time. For me, it will have to be a debate between Laporte because of the impact he had when he came in. His ability to distribute, he was very solid in the tackle, and one could argue he was the best defender in the league at a point. I think maybe 2018 side, before all of his injuries, of course. And on the other hand, due to his impact upon a rival and ultimately leading to his captaincy selection, would be Ruben Diaz. I know he hasn't been there.
I was hoping you went Diaz.
No, he's a rock.
What a player! Man. What a player!
But Amar, before you give it to us, right? You have an option of your 5 subs. So if you have a bit of a conflict between them, you can put one on your substitute bench, which is cool, right?
Okay. So I'll ultimately pick Kompany and Diaz because of Diaz's impact since he joined the club.
This boy knows football.
Yes, but think about this: Diaz and Kompany playing together.
Brilliant.
It's crazy.
Brilliant.
It's crazy. Wow, amazing. Should I move? Should the conductor move Laporte into your bench? Oh, okay, not
Think
yet.
about it.
Think
No
about
pressure.
It. No pressure. No pressure.
So
no
now
pressure. No pressure. Martin will wait for you. No problem.
So we've got your starting of your spine. So we've got Joe Hart and then Company and Diaz, left back and right back. Who are you taking for your wing back positions?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the right back because I feel it's a bit easier to pick. And I'm going to have to say Zabaleta is going to have to be my pick at right back.
Zabaleta.
Pablo Zabaleta.
That guy looked like he came out from a Narcos movie or something.
Yeah. But Ibrahim.
He looked like he could do some damage to you.
But what a player.
What a
When he used
player.
to fly on that right wing, he was magnificent. Magnificent. Amazing.
Okay, so Zabaleta on the right, on the left.
So the left has been a very tricky one because I feel we've been deficient at the left back position for many years. I would argue even up till now. So obviously there's three options I can consider. If we're thinking longevity, we have to consider Kolarov on one end, just because of longevity and I guess consistency, but I wouldn't consider him world class by any means. On the other hand, there was Clichy, who I would say defensively was quite solid. Going forward, I wouldn't say he offered too much, but defensively he was reliable. You know, he could keep up with the wingers and he got the job done. He's much like Nathan Ake, if I would make a comparison, you know,
Yes.
in terms of solidity. So the third option, which I feel doesn't necessarily deserve to be in the starting lineup, but deserves an honorable mention, would be Cancelo, just because of the season he had.
Just don't leave him on your bench because he'll put a transfer request in.
Yeah, it'll be a problem.
Match day, he's gonna be somewhere else. Yeah. So I'm not gonna. I felt like he was an honorable mention, but ultimately
100%.
I'll have to say Clichy.
Okay.
Man, can I be honest with you? You have touched my heart, my man. You know, we shot our past and present segments, and one of them were Gail Clichy. Love Gail Clichy. Gail Clichy came in 2003-2004 in the Invincibles, won the league. Thereafter, 2006, when Ashley Cole went, he was an understudy of Ashley Cole, and he took that number 3 jersey like you can't believe. And then obviously, when Manchester City, Sheikh Mansour came with a little bit of pounds, they came for Arsenal and they totally ripped us apart.
But he was a brilliant
Gail
footballer.
Clichy, oh man, love Gail Clichy. Brilliant.
So brilliant backline. We've
Brilliant.
got Joe Hart in the poles. We've got Company and Diaz in the center. Zabaleta on the right and Clichy on the left. That's an amazing setup. Now we move into your FIFA Pro Clubs type activity. So we're going to ask you to move a little bit faster because we are running out of time. I think you would have got a pop-up to say there's only 10 minutes left. So in terms of your 2 that sits in front of your defense, explain to us why and who are the players that make up that 2.
Right. So midfield has been very stacked for Man City, and there's a lot of names which come to mind.
Yeah.
And the reason I went for the 4-2-2 ultimately was to accommodate 4 midfielders. You know, because I feel there were not enough wingers to make it into the starting lineup. So
And City don't need to play with the wings.
Yeah, they don't.
So my 2 DMs or holding mids would have to be big man Yaya Toure and Fernandinho.
Love it. But all I'm going to say is, with Yaya Toure, make sure, especially if it's your team, make sure you've got your calendar set out when it's his birthday. Otherwise, you know, if you don't send him a cake, you're looking for trouble, brother.
Yeah. He'll be very, 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 very upset.
But Fernandinho and Yaya Toure, you know that saying, thou shall not pass.
This is thou shall not pass. I mean, Ibrahim, Joe Hart, Vincent Kompany, right? Ruben Diaz, Yaya Toure and Fernandinho.
What a team.
Come on, man.
What a team. That's amazing. Love
Brilliant.
it. And I think they speak for themselves, right? Both of them, you don't need to justify their selections.
I don't need to go into it. Yeah.
Exactly. Definitely. So we move from your 2 and now the 2 in front, your next 2. So these are, you went for your 2 holding ones. Who are your playmakers?
Right. I feel the first one is a no-brainer again. Probably one of the best City midfielders of all time, and that has to be David Silva. I mean, I feel I don't need to go into much concerning him. His ability to dictate the tempo, ghosting, there's just too many facets of his game
He
to
just
consider.
floats, man. He just floats.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So on one side, it'll be David Silva, and I have to say, and I can't ignore the other guy who's, debatably one of the best attacking midfielders, if not the best in the world right now, and that has to be Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh yes, what a player! I mean,
His boy, Jesus. Kevin De Bruyne.
I want to disagree with your statement.
But, nah.
I want to say something negative,
Nah.
but I can't.
No, you can't.
And out of respect, I have to say, what a player! What a player!
Oh, absolutely.
No,
amazing.
I mean, I tip my head to that. Amazing footballer.
This is a beautiful team
What
so
a
far.
team. What a
Why are you
team.
doing this to us, Amar, man?
How can you make me like a Manchester City team? What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
man?
and you know what? You know what Amar did? He used his 4-2-2, and it's so functional with the players he's got.
You can mix it up.
You can mix it up.
go for a
You
diamond because you can get
do
a
what you
little
have
bit
to.
more central wings.
Yeah, a bit compact.
So they're not going too far out, but they're keeping the play a little bit
But you're
more
in
compact.
control.
And you're in control. Nobody gets the ball.
No
yeah?
one. Nah, no one.
Okay, so now
Let's
we
go.
go up front. You've got an amazing team to
Okay.
back this team up.
Yeah.
Who finishes for you guys? Because predominantly that's where you guys have struggled in the last years with an out and out striker, but the rest of the team chips in with the goals. What are you saying from a front two?
The first choice, before I go to the obvious choice, has to be someone who I'll say had a bit of Rooney-esque play about him, some bulldoggery, a stout, strong build, and that's probably Carlos Tevez for me. It has to be Carlos Tevez.
Carlos Tevez.
He was a very
Snake.
strong player up front. He could get...
Ibrahim calls him the same. But listen, yeah.
Brilliant player.
Listen, pro clubs, our team is Sapiente. Sapiente, am I right? Sapiente.
FC, correct.
So the
That's
Snakes.
Sapiente FC. We are the Snakes. We are the Snakes.
So listen,
Sapiente.
to be honest, Carlos Tevez was one of my all-time favorite Manchester United players until
Brilliant.
he did the switch to City for obvious reasons. But his game is undeniable.
Yeah, I know.
Hard worker, tenacious, not scared to get into the tackles, and will run from minute 0 to minute 90. He leaves everything on the field.
Everything.
So I agree with the choice
Well
wholeheartedly.
done. Well done. And
Still only won a Champions League with Manchester United.
Don't talk about Champions Leagues, yeah.
Don't talk Champions League. Don't talk.
Yeah,
about
I mean, with
anything.
you and Abdul, we can't.
We
right?
can't.
Arsenal and City, that's a different WhatsApp group.
Brilliant, man.
And I'll say, okay, the last choice is pretty much the most obvious choice on the team, and that's probably one of, if not the best Premier League striker in history, and that has to be
John Gota?
Don't go to.
It has to be the Argentinian partnership of Sergio Aguero. That one's a
Oh,
no-brainer for me.
Kun Aguero.
And that is an Argentine front two.
There is an Argentine front too.
Tevez and Aguero.
Do you know the amount of work these two are going to do up front?
And you don't need to play them as strikers.
No,
you
you
can
don't.
drop them deep as a false 9.
Yeah.
You can play with one striker and then you pack your midfield with a 5.
Absolutely amazing. Can I go through this?
Go.
I'm so excited.
We've got 4 minutes, so run
Amar,
through.
okay, so we got 4 minutes. Amar, 4-2-2, Manchester City, all-time 11. Well done, brother. We have Joe Hart in the polls. Our 2 centre-back partnership, Vincent Kompany. Right, next to him we've got Ruben Diaz. What a centre-back partnership. On the right-hand side, Pablo Zabaleta. When he jumps on his Ducati scooter, he just bombs forward. On the left-hand side, Arsenal legend, Manchester City legend as well. I love Gail Clichy. Gail Clichy, my man. And Amar, you're going with the 4-2-2. Our 2 defensive midfielders, our 2 rocks, Yaya Toure and Fernandinho. Oh, man. Brilliant. And in front of them, our 2 little dynamites, our dynamos, we've got David Silva and none other than Kevin De Bruyne. Amazing stuff. Up front, we're going up with the Argentinian strike force with Carlos Tevez and the son-in-law of Diego Maradona, Kun Aguero, Sergio Aguero, but no more. I think they divorced. So, yeah. So, anyway, Kun Aguero, but what a team, brother. You can run through, you have 5 substitutes, you can put them how you want to put, and that's
Just
it.
run them, rattle them off for us.
So, I guess these gentlemen who didn't make the starting lineup but have contributed greatly to success. Firstly, I would have to say Leroy Sané, because he was a beautiful player for Man City.
Yeah.
You know, part of the Centurions squad, which managed to get 100 points, you know, and he was very pivotal to that. And on the other side would have to be Raheem Sterling in his prime, because the damage Sterling and Sané were able to do, you know, it's undeniable. That's
Brutal.
back when we had quick wingers who got in behind, you know, would hug the sideline, cut in. Classic City football.
Brilliant stuff.
Okay, so I have 2 wingers. For a midfielder, it's quite bold a statement, but it's a player I really enjoy watching, and I have to say Bernardo Silva, just because of
Bernardo.
Love it.
Definitely.
his work rates. You know, he's always fighting for the ball.
Still
Box to
today,
box.
right? Still a worker. Still a workhorse.
Yeah.
1 defender, 1 goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So goalkeeper has to be Edison. I can't deny him at least a substitute position.
Brilliant.
And 1 defender.
And my last defender,
Kolo
Kolo also played well.
he was an honorable mention. He's an honorable mention, 100%. You know what? I'm gonna say Laporte. Just for the sake of the fact that he almost made it into the starting lineup. And in his prime at Man City, I couldn't deny the contributions he made. But of course, injuries hindered his career at Man City, and obviously now there's rumors of him wanting to leave. But it's the same with De Bruyne. You know, injuries come and go, but you know, class is permanent at the end of the day. So I'll say that's my starting.
Amar, who coaches this team quickly? Pep Guardiola, Mark Hughes, or Manuel Pellegrini?
I have to say Pep Guardiola. I have to.
I love it.
I have to.
Amar, we
Pep
love
Guardiola.
having you on.
Wow,
Hopefully
Amar.
you can come back for more sessions. We are running short of time. Thank you so much, brother. Really
You're the man.
appreciate your time.
And thank you for having me.
And quickly, like Ibrahim always says, once you come onto gunning to Old Trafford, you are part
Family
of
of
the
Gunning to Old
family.
Trafford.
And this is not going to be the first time. And amazing stuff. It was amazing.
100%.
Crazy.
Amar, on 3, you're going to go with us, gunning to Old
Old
Trafford.
Trafford.
On 3, 2, 1. We are
Gunning to Old Trafford.
Thanks, Amar.
Brother, all the best. Thank you. Sharp.